Well, as my training as an orthopedic surgeon I was involved in working with the hand as well as the rest of the orthopedic parts of the body, and I became more and more interested in hand surgery as the thing that would be a major part of my medical practice. Of course, when you're seeing people with hand problems, you're obviously going to be finding a number of musicians. And since I was a musician myself long before I became a physician, these people were of special interest to me, and I was able to kind of understand them a little bit better because of my past experience, and hopefully be able to provide the type of care that they needed. During my years of practice, I kept track of at least, nearly 1,400 instrumental musicians with hand and upper extremity problems, that is, hand up to shoulder. The interesting thing about this is that my series showed that half of these people had their problem due to acute trauma. Most of the work in arts medicine has been related to music-caused difficulties, playing-related problems, whereas half of my patients were of acute trauma. Now, since I saw all age groups from age 6 all the way up to 90 or so, it turned out that most of the trauma patients were in the younger, let's say the 10 to 40 age range. And a high percentage of these were due to playing sports. Now, for the school child, of course, sports are a part of their school life, but this occurred even in adults, including professional musicians who would play sports as a part of their everyday non-musical routines, and a lot of patients who just enjoyed sports, but found out that when they got injured, it certainly interfered with their performance and their practice of music. So this was the way that I was able to have several papers published in our journal about acute trauma, especially in the high-level musicians, those that I consider to be professionals, teaching professionals, music majors in college or university, and the dedicated amateur who's playing 2 or 3 times weekly. This was a special group that I looked into because these are the ones for whom music really is their life. And sports are a good part of it, but not as much. The idea of using muscles frequently, continuously, for long periods of time, over many years, implies that muscles have to be conditioned in good shape to do the things that are required. Now, musicians, in general, are not using a lot of leg or spine muscles that we recognize. And like Dr. Frank Wilson, the neurologist, once described musicians, they are small muscle athletes. And anyone who plays a musical instrument that involves the use of the hands, and I play several of different categories, we know what it takes. Multiple movements, multiple hours of playing. When you're playing a symphony, you may sit for 10, 15 seconds, and then do nothing, and then all of a sudden use your hands very rapidly for short bursts, or occasionally very long bursts of activity. And to do this regularly, 5-6 days a week, for the rest of your life, I started music at age 7, and so I've been playing now for quite a few years. I don't see myself stopping, and so these muscles are still being used. We are truly small muscle athletes, but we need our core muscles, we need our lower extremity muscles when we play while standing, and just to support ourselves and our instrument. Actually, this meeting we're at right now in Snowmass, Medical Problems of Performing Artists, began before PAMA was incorporated. The first meeting was in 1983, and it was held in Aspen, and it was actually originated through the work of Dr. Alice Branfenbrenner. She was at the time the team physician, if you will. She was the physician who covered the care of the students at the music school in Aspen during the summer. And she was concerned about the number of problems, physical problems that they had from playing, and that affected their performance and practice. And she wanted to put together with the help of the School of Music, a meeting to try to bring in musicians to help address these problems and try to find some ways and pass along for future use some things that musicians could do to help themselves either in the idea of treatment or prevention. So through the School of Music, they got this first meeting in 1983. At that meeting, Dr. Richard Letterman was one of the attendees, a violinist, symphonic level, and a neurologist from Cleveland. And he was intrigued by this and joined Alice as a pair that continued to put on these meetings for a number of years. And they have continued through. In fact, I think Dick has attended every meeting in Aspen. I became interested in this directly through Alice, and in 1985 I attended here for the first time. And I've attended every meeting since 1985. 4 years ago, when we had our 25th Aspen conference, PAMA produced a book that is the 25th anniversary, the silver anniversary of PAMA. And this has the whole history of the meeting, the major speakers, the major topics, major prize winners, Brenner and Letterman Award winners. And this has been something that the members of PAMA have been able to use as a keepsake. As you know, PAMA itself as an organization was incorporated in 1989. So the meeting already had not only developed to become more and more mature, but more inclusive. It now, by 1989, included medical problems of musicians and dancers. They finally started getting more than just orchestral instrumentalists in. And so through the years, we've become more and more inclusive, seeing, listening to papers on circus performers over the last couple of years, another area of performing artists that in many cases related to dance. So we've just kind of increased the activity. We've expanded our role in research and education through this meeting and reaching out to more people in more countries. You know, as an international organization, we have members here from 15, 20 foreign countries now. Right. As a chair of the research committee, I'm, I guess, the guy in charge of keeping the bibliography. Right now, the bibliography, it's on the website of PAMA, contains more than 12,000 entries. And these are papers that have been published in journals, books, book chapters, newspaper articles, other things that pertain to performing arts medicine. And they have been obtained from multiple sources and kept on a database, which happens to be on my own home computer, and frequently downloaded to PAMA's website. It is available to anyone who can access the website, anyone who has internet access. There are no restrictions, no passwords needed to visit the bibliography and to search the bibliography. And the bibliography has various levels of instruction about how to do this, ways to look at the various journals by their titles, and various keywords that can be used to search. It's as comprehensive as we can get, but it only gives a list of the available articles and the available topics or books. People will have to get their own copies because PAMA does not make copies for people on demand. That's just beyond their capabilities. One of the first things that I think of, and this is something that affected me very strongly when I first started in seeing patients who were musicians and dancers, is learning the nomenclature, learning the jargon of each individual artistic endeavor. Musicians speak a certain language, and each individual instrumental group has its own jargon that pertains to the way an instrument is played or whatever. And a health professional normally, unless he or she plays that particular instrument, may not know these fine points and understand what the musician is saying. So I think that the health professional really would benefit by learning some of these terms. And the best way to do it is just, if the musician's in your office, ask them questions. The physician has to learn from the patient equally, if not more, than what the patient will learn from the physician. The same thing holds true with dance. Unless you know all these fancy French terms, I say fancy because French is not my native language, and the terms that pertain to ballet movements, they have a jargon all of their own. The physician needs to know these. Just as the performing artist needs to know a little bit about her or his own body, a little bit about how it's put together, that's anatomy, and how it works, that's physiology. And the health professional needs to be able to pass this information back to the artist in lay terms that they can understand and be able to use in their own treatment. So the two-way communication is one of the most important things that I can see right now that would help a health professional get, let's say, on the right track to be effective in working with musicians and dancers. Currently, PAMA does not have anything out there that relates to its own organization. We know there is a lot of information on the internet that reach out to performing artists in various ways. There are also a lot of books out that work with this for dancers, for musicians. In fact, we have two musicians here that have written books on this. One is at the meeting. One is Janet Horvath, right, from Minneapolis. And the second one is myself. I have written a book called Fit as a Fiddle, The Musician's Guide to Playing Healthy. This information is available, and it is probably as accurate as you're going to get. We have to be a little careful about what you get off the internet, and this is, as everybody who goes on the web knows, you have to be aware. So PAMA itself does not have a plan right now for developing particular helpful information, because since we deal with such a broad spectrum of performers, it would be kind of hard to get specific information for a whole lot of people. This also takes individuals' time. PAMA, as you know, is a totally volunteer organization, and time is of the essence for all the people who are out in practice and doing things. PAMA is, in general, a small part of their professional lives.